Well, here we are on another beautiful Thursday here across America. My name is Mr. G, and this is Mr. G's Weather Channel. And thank you for joining me right here. And I hope you check me out on TikTok and YouTube as we work on this video for you guys. We're going to have a weather forecast to let you know what to expect for the rest of today, tomorrow, and into the weekend, and probably into the week ahead. So we're going to be looking at some things going on across the country as far as the weather is concerned. And here we are right now outside looking out over the city of St. Paul. Yes, this is my stomping grounds right here. I live right down that way. So yes, here, the city of St. Paul. This is Interstate 94. This area we call Spaghetti Junction because this is going right through downtown St. Paul there. So that is a look outside at downtown, at least right by the freeway, I-94 going across. And you might be able to see Minneapolis downtown in the distance out there. You can see Minneapolis, but we do have some high clouds streaming overhead today. So some clouds out there. So mostly cloudy skies right now with those temperatures in the mid-50s. So temperatures in the mid-50s right now. So a little bit cooler compared to what we have been seeing over the last 7 days. So we finally saw a change in the weather last night when those temperatures really dropped in the evening, but we dropped down into the low 40s and upper 30s last night. But today we have warmed up nicely, so we're going to see those temperatures in the 50s and 60s today. Maybe a little bit cooler yet again tomorrow. But right now, let's go take a look at the country as far as what's currently going on out there. So we're going to jump to our globe here and take a look at the country as a whole. So here we are as we look at the big picture across America, and you can see what's going on. And you see this area of low pressure off the East Coast right there, and that is going to be bringing out a little bit of cooler air from Canada. We got a secondary low here with an associated cool front stretching across the East Coast right now and into the Ohio Valley, and that's going to be bringing in some clouds and some showers, so a little bit of cooler weather, and a brief period of rain is going to be possible. But we're not going to see any drought-busting situations out there right now, and we're looking at a lot of temperatures across the northern half of the country in the 50s, so a lot of 50s across the upper Midwest and the Plains states, and down here across Texas and over the Gulf Coast, we're seeing those temperatures in the 60s and 70s. So we're starting to see it start to warm up down across the south. And we're seeing some 60s, 70s, and it's a little bit far because I'm kind of standing a little bit away from it. But we can see that there's some 70s and 80s here across the desert southwest, Arizona, and through New Mexico. But we're going to take a closer look now and zoom in on some areas. And also, we want to talk about the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies. So we have another big storm that's going to slam into the Northwest with that moisture fetch, the atmospheric river. So we're going to see another round of heavy rain from Friday through Sunday. And we're going to see another wet weekend across the Pacific Northwest. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at all of the action, as well as an area where we can see some severe thunderstorms today. Here we are across the Pacific Northwest right now, and you can see the visible satellite here, and you can see some spotty showers beginning to develop along the coastal areas so down from Portland up to Seattle and Everett here in the Pacific Northwest, the northwest corner of Washington, and the Puget Sound. So we can see some of those showers coming in off of the Pacific. So we're also going to be seeing high winds with this system as well. So very gusty winds out over the sea. So any fishermen out there, like the crab fishermen or halibut fishermen or whatever, we're going to have some rough seas to deal with. You're going to be living the dailies catch this week with this storm that will be moving into the Pacific Northwest right now. So get ready for a very wet weekend here across the northwestern areas of the United States and southwestern British Columbia down to Victoria and Vancouver as well. So get ready for some very wet weather conditions here with a very strong onshore flow and that moisture fetch all the way down to the subtropics in north of Hawaii. So we're going to see another wet weekend here across the Pacific Northwest. So here we are over the four corners in the desert southwest where we're seeing very mostly fair conditions. A few high clouds streaming in, a few cirrus clouds out over the deserts of eastern California, maybe southern Nevada. We might see a few high clouds, but mostly dry weather conditions. Some low clouds and fog down here along the coast of Southern California. That's what this white is. This is clouds, low clouds and fog down here along the coast. So morning low clouds and fog down around the Long Beach area in Orange County. But if you go further south, you can see that cloud bank that's a little bit further out, but it's tend to be hugging the coast a little bit more north of Los Angeles here, so to near Point Conception and maybe Malibu, Ventura County, we might see some of those little clouds and fog down there in Southern California. So get ready for a foggy start to your morning, but you'll see that fog burn off during the mid to late afternoon hours. But we'll see that fog return again around the evening as we have a little bit of an onshore flow. So we will see those temperatures warm out in the four corners. So Phoenix and Tucson will see those highs hit the 80s. Some areas might see a 90 here or two here over the eastern desert. So maybe Palm Springs, Indio, and Baringo Springs, and some of those areas. Vegas might see a 80 or a 90 here and there as well. So it's still pretty early in the day on the West Coast. So temperatures haven't warmed up quite yet, haven't caught up to that the sun is up. So it's still about 8 or 9 in the morning out there. So get ready for a nice day across the four corners in the desert southwest. So now let's take a look at the Midwest where we can see some severe thunderstorms today. So now we are looking at the upper Midwest here in the plain states and the central plains. And in this region right here near Iowa, we can see some severe thunderstorms today across Nebraska, Iowa, maybe into parts of west central Illinois and northern Kansas. We can see some severe thunderstorms today that could produce some damaging winds, some hail, and an isolated tornado is going to be possible, where we have a slight risk for severe thunderstorms down across the central plains, across Iowa, Nebraska, and parts of Kansas. And we can see those showers. And we're seeing some showers already moving into northern Minnesota. So we could see some showers possibly push through the Twin Cities area later this afternoon and into the evening hours. Not looking for too much in the way of significant rainfall. It might even hear a rumble of thunder, but for the most part, just light to moderate rain showers and maybe an isolated thunder shower as well. But for the most part, not looking for a whole lot in the way of precipitation. But on the backside of this cool front here that we're seeing moving across Minnesota, we could see moving across North and South Dakota, heading towards Minnesota, and we could see some of those some cooler temperatures yet again as the temperatures go down a few more degrees after the passing of that cool front. So now let's take a look at the East Coast and see where they are looking at. Well, they could get a shot of cooler weather before things warm back up again briefly. Okay, so we're tracking things in the east right now too, but you can see right now we are still seeing, we have a cool front that went through, and that's going to be bringing a couple of days of some cooler temperatures. But right now, looking at those temperatures in the 50s and some 60s down along the central coast there, North Carolina near Charlotte, and across over towards Nashville. We're also looking at those temperatures in the low 60s right now. But if you go further up the coast, many 50s out there, so a lot of those temperatures in the 50s over the eastern Great Lakes and over the Northeast and New England. We're seeing those temperatures in the 50s around New York City up to Boston and the nation's capital. We are looking at those temperatures in the upper 60s right now with a few clouds around, and we could see those showers moving out of the upper Midwest across. They may move across Wisconsin and Michigan and eventually moving into upstate New York to see those showers later on as we get into the weekend hours. So get ready for a sprinkle or two or a light rain shower, but we're not looking at anything that's going to make a dent in the drought. The drought conditions will still persist despite the fact that some areas might see a few raindrops over the next couple of days. So get ready for that. But unfortunately, the drought will remain in place, and we're not seeing anything significant as far as widespread rainfall or a long period of rainfall. That dry weather will continue after the passing of the next cool front coming out of the Midwest. So now let's move on to the weather forecast maps and talk about the forecast for the days to come. Thank you for sticking with me on today's video as we keep things moving, and we're going to take a look at the weather forecast now. Going to talk about the tropics briefly, but we do have one hurricane out there, and it's in the Pacific side, and they haven't seen a lot of action in the Pacific. At least they haven't been nothing noteworthy until we have Hurricane Christy out here right now. Hurricane Christy is a Category 4 hurricane moving across just off the coast of Mexico, and it's moving to west-northwest, but eventually it's going to make more of a turn toward the north and northwest before making a turn toward the southwest before getting bunched out because of high pressure over the desert southwest and an area of low pressure off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, and that is going to make force our storm to the south. So this storm is not going to affect the U.S. coast in any way other than increasing the swells and making boating a little bit more interesting. So here's the current track that Hurricane Christy is going to take, and this is what we're going to be seeing start this morning. But as we head through time here, Friday and into the weekend, and we're going to see a major hurricane, a Category 4 hurricane. But by the time we get to Sunday morning, we're going to see our hurricane drop below Category 3. So it will begin to weaken and make that turn toward the left and head out toward the southwest, and then it will drop to a tropical storm, so a tropical depression. So it will weaken rapidly as it moves into the much colder waters where the Pacific, where the Japanese American current is. So the Japanese American current goes from west to east, and it's much cooler water with the water temperatures in the 40s and 50s. Definitely not conducive for a hurricane. So we will see that hurricane diminish quite rapidly once it moves into those colder waters and begins to make that turn toward the southwest. So that'll do it for the tropics, but here is where we, well, not quite yet. Let me stop lying. So from October 30th next week through November 7th, this is the hot area. We see our main development area here. So this is where we think we could see the potential for a tropical system to develop next week. So maybe around the 30th, we could see Tropical Storm Patty form in this region right here. So Tropical Storm Patty will be the next named hurricane in the Atlantic, and we think that it could develop somewhere in this region between October 30th and November 2nd. So that will be the next named storm in the Atlantic, potentially at this time. This is the most interesting area we can think of. So across the east, so we will see a cooler day today, cooler conditions across the east because of that storm system off the east coast. high pressure over the mainland is bringing mostly a northerly flow across New England. So we're seeing cooler temperatures today, but it will remain mostly dry. Maybe some showers over the weekend from the system coming out of the plains, but until then, dry and cooler weather across the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic and the Ohio Valley and into the Great Lakes. So we will see those temperatures returning to the 50s and 60s for the most part. And then here's a look at what we will see early next week. The warmth will return, so record challenging warmth again will return to the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes and into the east as a high amplitude ridge builds in after this weekend. So next week we will see a flip-flop as we begin a temperature roller coaster ride over the next week or two. So here is another round of warm weather across the east, and that's going to extend down into the southern plains and across the southeast as well. So warm weather, but not a lot of humidity, so that is good to report. Not obsessive amounts of humidity, so that is going to be good. But on the west coast, we will see it get cooler early next week as well. So Sunday, Monday, and the Tuesday, we're going to see very cool air coming down out of Canada. So that could lead to some opportunities for snow in the Cascades and the Olympic Mountains and across the central and northern Rockies as well. We could see the potential for some snow out there. So if you want to go to Vail or Aspen or want to do a weekend trip or something like that, you might be this might be the week to do so next week if you want to get some skiing in there. So we did get some snow across parts of the Rockies this week, so we could see the potential for more snow next week as that storm system comes out of the Pacific Northwest and into the Rockies. So that's going to bring some snow into the Rockies. Boy, my knee is hurting so bad. So Mr. G said up here getting old. I'm becoming an old man. So looking at cool weather across the north, you can see that over my shoulder. It says cool in the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies. So late this week, we're going to see it cool. But on the next week, we will see, or late week, yeah. So we're going to see showers, thunderstorms here across the Midwest here. So Iowa down through Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska, and maybe parts of Illinois as well. We're going to see some thunderstorms, and some of those storms could be severe. We can see showers all the way up into Minnesota and maybe down across up across the border as well into Canada. Some of those showers across Nebraska and into South and North Dakota. We could see some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, but the bigger storms are going to be here over the Central Plains and into Illinois this week. And here is where we could see some of those severe thunderstorms today through this afternoon and evening. So we got the severe thunderstorms across most of Iowa and down through Missouri and through southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas. We could see some severe thunderstorm potential, and that is going to be locally strong gusty winds, and we're going to see heavy downpours. So some brief and heavy downpours and damaging winds are going to be the primary threat from these severe thunderstorms today. And we're going to see heavy rain. Also, some much needed rainfall could spread into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, down through Missouri as well, as we have a weak low pressure center, and that's going to be strong enough to provide some pretty considerable amount of rainfall. So some drought relief for parts of the Midwest, but unfortunately not for the East, because this is probably going to go up more into Canada. So I think they're going to miss out on the much needed rainfall, but some areas may pick up on some stray showers here on the tail end, but most of the rainfall is going to fall over the corn belt here. So, and me and my drooling mouth, I'm drooling, so I'm hungry, so I'm drooling and I'm hungry. I need to go eat lunch here after I do this video. And here we are with that Pacific moisture. Pacific moisture once again. This was last weekend's weather forecast, just like this, again, another weekend of heavy rain into the Pacific Northwest. And those rain showers will extend across Oregon into northern California, Washington, northern Idaho, northwestern Montana, southern British Columbia. So we'll see snow in the Canadian Rockies and in the Rockies in the mountains in the British Columbia. We'll see some snow near rain snow above Vancouver and snow in the Olympic Mountains of Wisconsin, of Washington as well. So flash flood risk, and we're also going to see strong winds offshore. So very strong winds. So if you are a commercial fisherman, that's going to make challenging conditions. And we're also going to see British Columbia mountain snow with this next storm system and that atmospheric river plume of moisture coming into the southwestern British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And here's what we're going to see as we get into the weekend. We will see dry and mild conditions begin to take shape across the northern tier. So the northern Rockies and the upper Midwest and the plains and even into Minnesota, dry and mild conditions with those temperatures mainly in the 50s and 60s. So it's not going to be too cold, but we'll still see those showers and rain in the Pacific Northwest. So a wet weekend in the Pacific Northwest and maybe a shower or so in New England, parts of the interior, and maybe the St. Lawrence River Valley, but dry along the coast and in the big cities, but cooler. So Boston, New York will see cool northwesterly winds, bringing cooler weather across the Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic, but it's going to be nice and warm across the southern plains. So Texas, across the southern California, and along the Gulf Coast are going to see nice and warm conditions and relatively low humidities because of high pressure down along the Gulf Coast. And this is going to be some of the record challenging highs that we're going to see next Tuesday, and we're going to see those temperatures in the 80s in Philadelphia, Delaware, Ohio, and New York, and Pittsburgh as well. We can see those temperatures in the 70s and some low to mid 80s. And we're also going to see a very dry stretch since September 29th. So no measurable rainfall since the end of September across the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states. So New Jersey, DC, Pennsylvania, and parts of New York as well. And again, very far below normal rainfall here, as New York City has only had 22% of their rainfall for this time of the year, and Islip on Long Island out there 5%. So it's been very dry across the east. So dry will continue, and they've only seen most places haven't even seen an inch. Only a couple areas here have seen over an inch of rain since the end for quite a while. And look at the drought conditions. So we have extreme drought. Some areas almost more than 200% below average here as far as rainfall is concerned, despite getting a lot of rain from Helene when it went through western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia. Even with that, they're still like 200% below average on the rainfall, and this is the fifth driest streak on history across Raleigh, North Carolina. So it's tied for first the driest stretch of time here, even across Nashville, Tennessee, up to Philadelphia, New York. Number one, the driest period ever. So very dry dry start to your October. So October was a very dry month across the Northeast, and you can see those drought conditions will continue, and there's a risk for fire damage, a fire as well, because it's very dry and windy, and it's not necessarily high. It's the dry and the windy conditions that really make the problems, Not that because it's really hot. It doesn't help, but that's not really it. It's the dry and windy conditions that is the problem. So that'll do it for today's weather forecast. My name is Mr. G, and this is Mr. G's Weather Channel. Thank you for watching me today, and I will do a live on TikTok. So after I eat lunch, I will do a live on TikTok so I can get some energy because I'm getting really lightheaded here because I need to eat. So I had a stomach surgery a couple years ago, and when I'm hungry all the time. And I had a gastric, not a bypass, but it was the other some they do where they cut out a good chunk of your stomach, and you have a banana split. Your stomach is shaped like a banana. But I'm hungry all the time. But when I can eat 3 bites and then I'm full. I'm stuck. But then I'm hungry constantly because my what do you call it? My metabolism is crazy. So I'll be starving, but eat 3 bites of food and I'm good to go. I can eat one thing, so a whole meal could be a plate of eggs or something, and I'm good. So that's just how it goes. So, but anyway, that'll do it for this video. I'm gonna have lunch, and then I will do my live in a little bit this afternoon, and we're good to go for today. And we'll work on the video for TikTok and YouTube. So, thank you for joining me today on Mr. G's Weather Channel. And we will be back tomorrow with another weather forecast video and a live. So I want to make my TikTok channel blow up. So, and I'm have to do it for YouTube as well, so we can make the YouTube channel get the algorithm. So I'm gonna go back to doing live since I know I can use my computer now to do TikTok live. So that's wonderful. So I'll see you guys all in a little bit. Have a great morning or afternoon or whatever you're doing, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.